The echo of my voice. It started last summer when I moved to a quiet little town, seeking solitude and a fresh start after a rough few years. My new home was a dilapidated cabin at the edge of the woods, far removed from the bustling city life I'd left behind. The first few weeks were peaceful, filled with the sounds of nature and the gentle rustling of leaves. I was grateful for the quiet, but I soon discovered that peace can be an unsettling thing. The first sign that something was off came one evening while I was sitting on the porch, enjoying a sunset that painted the sky in hues of orange and pink. I called out to my neighbor, an elderly man named Frank, to borrow some tools for repairs around the cabin. But instead of the usual "sure," I expected I heard a strange echo floating back from the woods. "Can I borrow some tools?" The voice was unmistakably mine, but there was something eerie about it, as if it were a mockery of my own words. I glanced over my shoulder, heart racing, but the woods remained silent. I shrugged it off, attributing it to the wind playing tricks on me. As the days passed, however, the echoes became more persistent. I would hear whispers at night, soft melodic sounds that felt almost like laughter. Every time I tried to respond, the voice would mimic me, but it sounded twisted, as though my words were warped through some dark filter. One particularly restless night, driven by a mix of curiosity and dread, I ventured outside, flashlight in hand. The beam cut through the darkness, illuminating the trees that loomed ominously around me. "Hello? Is anyone there?" I called into the void, half hoping for an answer, half hoping for silence. The woods fell still for a moment before responding with an echo. "Is anyone there?" It sent a jolt through me. It was my voice, but colder, more sinister. I returned inside, shaken. The following days were a blur of anxiety. I tried to rationalize the echoes, convincing myself that it was a prank or just my mind unraveling after too much solitude. But then I started noticing strange things, the reflections in the glass of my cabin, which seemed to shimmer with shadows that didn't belong to me. At times I thought I saw something lurking just beyond the light. One evening I couldn't shake the feeling that I had to confront this entity. I followed the echo deeper into the woods, my heart pounding with each step. "Show yourself," I shouted, desperation lacing my words. Suddenly the trees erupted with sounds, voices overlapping, all mimicking my every word. Panic surged through me and I turned to flee. But behind me I heard the footsteps. Something was following, matching my frantic pace. I raced back toward the cabin, the laughter echoing around me, a cacophony of my own voice taunting me. "Let me in." The words blended into the chilling sounds of the woods, and as I reached the door, I slammed it shut behind me, breathless and terrified. Inside, I barricaded myself against the door, feeling utterly helpless. But the sounds continued, now from right outside. "It's me," the voice said softly. "Let me in." It was my voice, but layered with something sinister, something that felt alive and hungry. I held my breath, praying for it to go away. The knocking persisted, rhythmic and unyielding. "Let me in. I'm scared." As the night wore on, I realized I had one last hope: my phone. I grabbed it, hands shaking as I texted Frank for help. My heart raced as I pressed send, desperate for someone to rescue me. Just then the lights flickered, and a cold breeze swept through the room, extinguishing the last remnants of warmth. The knocking stopped. In the eerie silence, I dared to peek through the window. I felt a wave of relief wash over me when I saw Frank standing there, his silhouette outlined against the dim light of dawn. I flung the door open and rushed outside, babbling about the voices, the echoes, the fear that had gripped me. "What are you talking about?" Frank asked, his brow furrowed with concern. "I just came to check on you. You didn't respond to my knock." My heart sank. "I thought you were—" I stammered, but I stopped short, realizing the implication. I heard my voice." Frank looked at me, skepticism etched on his face, but I saw a flicker of something else. Fear. He stepped inside, scanning the shadows with wary eyes. "You need to get out of here," he said, his voice low. "These woods, they're not right." I wanted to protest, to insist that it was all in my head, but as I glanced back into the cabin, I felt the weight of unseen eyes watching from the darkness. Reluctantly, I packed a few essentials and left with Frank, feeling a strange mix of relief and dread. After moving back to the city, I thought I could finally put the experience behind me. But even here, in the crowded streets and the noise of life, I couldn't escape the echoes. At night, when the world quieted, I still heard it. The whispers, the laughter, my own voice calling out to me from the shadows. I tried to dismiss it as a figment of my imagination, a remnant of the fear I had felt in that cabin. But the truth is, I know something was out there, something that had taken my voice and twisted it into a lure. And it's still waiting, lurking just beyond the edges of light. Every time I hear it, a part of me is drawn back to that place, to the woods where the echoes began. I realize now that the isolation I sought was only a breeding ground for whatever dark force had taken root. And despite the distance, I can feel it calling me back, whispering promises of comfort and familiarity, masked in the guise of my own voice. I wonder if I ever return. Will I still be able to resist? Or will I find myself once again wandering into the darkness, chasing the sound of my own echo, only to become part of it forever?